Hey, and a big welcome into the 3 a.m. Coney. I'm Lukas Moore. We've got Matt Roden will come in a little bit later in the show. This is a Cincinnati Bengals podcast. Why? Because the Reds have so embarrassed the city of Cincinnati that I refuse to speak about them ever again. So no more Cincinnati Reds. We're now officially on Twitter, which, by the way, follow us on Twitter at 3 a.m. Coney. We are now officially the 3 a.m. Coney, a Bengals podcast, which I love. It's much better that way, especially considering the fact that the Bengals start this Sunday. You see the three Coneys behind you. You see that it's not 3 a.m. That's what this show is. It makes no sense half the time, yet you'll walk away going, wow, this guy makes a lot of sense. At least that's the goal. So we'll try to talk some sense about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the matchup coming on Sunday. We will not give a score prediction. I will have a score prediction probably on a show later this week. We might get Russ Heltman, Sports Illustrated All Bengals reporter, also All Bearcats, doing a great job with all the Bearcats coverage. I know a lot of Bearcats fans listen to this show, so make sure you check out Russ Heltman's work. And so hopefully we'll get to talk to him about the opening matchup this week. We'll have NFL predictions. I might share my full season spreadsheet, which I've shared on Twitter a few times to talk about the different teams that could be over, under, a little bit of gambling, something like that. I don't know. Maybe. All that stuff coming this week. But this show focused specifically on week one, the Pittsburgh Steelers breaking it all down. You've heard the news elsewhere. You go other places for the news. You come here for reaction and opinion. And I think that the big reaction and the big opinion I have for week one is everybody is a little too confident. And I hate doing this as the confidence guy, as the guy that, I've been on the Joe Burrow train since he was a backup at Ohio State. Now, I was dragged there by the great people of Athens when I had spent a few years at Ohio University. They told me story after story, showed me highlight after highlight. Credit Matt Frazee, credit Sam Smathers, credit all those guys, Troy Bolin, who told me the Joe Burrow story. But once they got me on that train, I've been on it ever since. So I should be one of the more confident, more over-the-top, predictive type of guys. I'm a lifelong Bengals fan, and I was talking about Joe Burrow in Athens before he was even a quarterback at LSU. I should be over-the-moon confident. And I'm even telling everybody out there in the Bengals universe, we as a collective, I think maybe not the team, hopefully not, are being a little too confident about the results of Sunday's game. So here's the bottom line. Mo Ager shared some great stats on Hear That Podcast Ground. One I thought was really interesting. The last 22 Super Bowl losers, 4-18 against the spread in week one the following season. And then on the road or underdog division rivals have a very successful against the spread record in week one as well. So it's a tough divisional game, a team that's kind of been thinking about the two ass kickings you handed to them last year. A team with a great coach, continuity of coach, stars on defense. They're as healthy as they're ever going to be. They're walking into an environment where literally everybody wearing orange and black has the Lombardi trophy on their mind because it was the last game that they were involved in. They were this close to winning the Lombardi trophy. So of course, Bengals fans are going to have that on their minds. They're going to walk through the stadium and they're going to see new banners celebrating the playoff wins, the three. There had been 5 playoff wins in Bengals history. There were 3 last year. So there's going to be posters and it's going to be in the videos and the reminder of the Super Bowl. And although I've heard some reporters talking about how the team has moved past the Super Bowl, there's no talk about it in the locker room. They're so far beyond it. But the fans, the people in the stands, it is going to be the highest expectations a Bengals team has ever had for any week one in franchise history, way more than 1989. Why? Because in 1989, one, Boomer Esiason is not Joe Burrow, and no receiver on that team was Jamar Chase. Just in terms of their star power nationally, in terms of their raw talent, in terms of their statistical ceiling, those guys were not that. Ken Anderson, rookie Chris Collinsworth, was not that. Plus, there was a strike going into 1982, so it was kind of hard to be excited about football in general. So this is the most anticipated week one in Bengals history, bar none. Highest expectations the city and the team has ever had for the Cincinnati Bengals heading into week one. And if those expectations are flying through the stands and the air is thick with it, that is a motivating factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is an incredibly motivating factor for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why? Because they're a division rival. They kind of don't like the Bengals already. And I just think that this game is going to be closer than everybody has in their heads, but I don't think it's going to feel that close at times. It'll just lead itself to some nerve-wracking moments, and I think this could be a one-score game when it all comes down to it. Matt Roden has joined us on the stream.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you sound crisp, Matt. I think hopefully we've got all the,
a little bit of a mic issue last week, but I sound okay right now.
I think you sound fantastic. I hope I sound
Beautiful.
Fantastic too.
You sound fantastic.
Yeah, I had a little wire damage I didn't notice last week, so it actually, in the middle of our show, switched the audio from my actual microphone, which I do have, into the computer. So,
wow. So for both of us, was that the cat attacking your cord over there, or?
No, it's a bad cord, so I had to plug a new cord in. So,
hey, we're getting it all worked out. All the kinks are getting worked out in the preseason, right before week one.
But our kinks are so weird. I mean, it was honestly like the Bengals last year, where we would play clean for a few weeks, and then the Jets would come into town. Mike White's got 405 yards, and this is, there's so many things to talk about, Matt. But I was just talking about how Sunday is going to be a party in Cincinnati. It's going to feel like almost a crowning ceremony in a lot of people's minds of this new dynasty that doesn't have a Lombardi yet.
Yeah.
And I just think this is going to be the most difficult winnable game on the Bengals schedule. I think they're all winnable. I think all 17 are winnable. But you should win this one. You're going to be favored by 5 or 6 points. You have the better roster. You are in the better position. Health is not a concern in week one. Of all the games where you go, they should win that one. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Jets. You expect them to split with there's out of all those games, this is the most difficult because of the fans we've kind of forgotten what real football's like, Matt. I mean, what happens if there's a fumble on the first drive and everybody goes, oh crap, we're right back to it, man. I just think it's going to be a tough environment in the crowd. I don't know about the players, but Pittsburgh's coming in to ruin a party for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as they can, this Steelers team, I think, is not going to be coming in and being able to, ruin the party. I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, for Bengals fans coming into week one, this is a little bit of stress taken away with the Bengals winning that playoff game, going all the way to the Super Bowl. They exceeded your expectations from last season. Pretty much everyone's expectations were, people are calling it a fluke year, but that's what they still have this disrespect. They still have this having to prove themselves. And we have turned the tables a little bit against the Steelers, especially since the Von Bell hit, and every game since then has felt a lot more Bengals, and the Steelers, kind of resting at the end of the fourth quarter, already down 30 points. I could see that happening, and I could see it being close, because the Bengals, they do have those Jets games, and they have like they had last year, and they have for the first week. We don't know how they're going to come out. If it's going to be aggressive, if it's going to be, it's the Steelers. We could lose this game. We just can't get anyone injured. I don't know how they're going to play it, but it's the Steelers. So
yeah, well, no, they need to play it like it's
they got to win it.
This is a must-win. You have to win your division. And Zach Taylor said it pretty clearly in the press conference, and he's right. What's the quickest path to winning Super Bowls? Well, step one, get an elite quarterback. Step two, win your division every year. Look at all the teams that have 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls. Well, there's only a few. There's only one that has 5 or more, and that's the Patriots. But if you look at all the great dynasties, look at them dominating their division around their era. Even the Colts dominated the AFC South for a long time. So if you're going to be the type of team that Bengals fans think this team can be, the type of team that history suggests they are. I remind you of the 91 Cowboys, same points per game ranking, same points allowed per game ranking, a number one overall pick quarterback coming off of the number one pick 2 years ago. And we know what the Cowboys did in the 90s. The Bengals could maybe do something like that. That's the type of roster they have. If they're going to be that, you got to beat your division. You got to win your division. And this is the worst team in your division.
Yep.
Opening day. And so this is going to go one of two ways. I see it realistically in my mind. Number one, the OTA period going light and kind of easing guys in and keeping guys healthy, it will have a direct impact on the first half of this game. The Steelers have game planned for the Bengals all season long. It is stuck in their craw. They have a talented defense. They genuinely have a really talented defense. It is a historic team that focuses on defense. So I could see if all these issues kind of cropped up from the offseason of, we're a little rusty, we're a little slow to get started, I don't really know if this is exactly what we want it to be, you're in a dogfight now. And now I think it's a dogfight the Bengals win, but you're in position to where one special teams mistake, looking at you, Darius Phillips, that was 2 mistakes, but one special teams mistake, you lose to the Steelers week 1.
Not as bad as LSU's 2 muffed punts.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of love seeing that, though.
That was great. You'll love to see that.
I'd watched this YouTube video earlier in the day of all these crazy moments and all these missed extra points. And so they lined up for it. And I looked at Jess and I was like, I bet he misses this because we watched all those videos today. And then he missed. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was after my fantasy draft. We're just watching it. People were getting ready to leave. We're like, oh, is this going to go into overtime? I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way. Like, you have to go for 2 there. You do a 99-yard in barely a minute. Yeah, and you don't go for 2 there?
Win the game, man.
Win the game. Win it right there. Don't put it into especially don't miss the extra point.
I didn't hate the decision as much. I didn't watch the first part of the game. I didn't hate the decision as much until I found out the kid had already had a kick blocked. You already saw it, dude. But anyway, the one scenario is that you're in that type of, if we fuck up on special teams, we'll lose.
Yep.
That's the one thing I'm kind of scared of Joe Burrow and just the offense not clicking. Offensive line doesn't click right. They miss an assignment, kills a drive. Jamar's a little rusty. All these things that could potentially happen get you in a dogfight, get you in a 1-score game, and you could lose if your special teams makes a serious mistake or, God forbid, Joe Burrow make a serious critical error. The second option, and my heart is there, but I don't think my head is that you're about to witness the start of a genuine, true, dominant team. And they are going to not just win, but they're going to eviscerate everything the Steelers are as a franchise in one game. Because they have that mindset, and you talk about the disrespect they've felt. And there's a chance that Zach Taylor not letting these guys go all the time and kind of keeping that energy pent up behind the wall, that there could be a massive, and you got a division rival across you on the field, and the stadium's going to be full 20 minutes before kickoff. It's going to feel like a primetime game. There could be this boom explosion of Bengals and Houday energy that powers this team, and Joe comes in locked in. Jamar's locked in. The line is better than you and I even thought, and the Steelers' adjustments don't matter, and they win this game by 40 points. Like, there's only 2 ways.
That's what you want.
I see this going. And that's
what you want.
But you shouldn't expect it. I think if this team gets out of here with an ugly 24-17 win, they played clean, they weren't perfect, but they won a tough game against a divisional rival, all should be happy. We should all be thrilled. We should be jumping for joy because this sport is freaking hard. Really, really hard. So it could definitely happen, the blowout, but I think there's a lot of factors that make me think this might be a 1-score game throughout the critical stretches in the second half. And when you're in that territory in football, man, anything can happen. You can never guarantee 100%.
Is that because of Mitchie Trubisky? Or are you happy that he is starting and not Tiny Hands Pickett?
I think we all forgot how bad Big Ben was last year. He was a genuine benefit.
He was very, very bad last year. He looked like a sofa that was falling over, and then the ball would just kind of travel downfield.
Trubisky is not better than Ben Roethlisberger, but he's better than Ben Roethlisberger was, especially in the Bengals games last year. Mm-hmm. Right? Ben Roethlisberger was putrid, awful, horrible, horrendous. Pick another adjective against Cincinnati last year. 20 combined points, and I mean, just baffling throws left and right, no arm strength whatsoever. We are gonna Bengals fans are gonna be freaking shocked because there's gonna be a guy in a Steelers uniform that's running around and is halfly decent athletic. Like he's kind of athletic.
Is actually getting out of the pocket and doesn't fold like a sack of potatoes.
And so I think he's marginally better than Big Ben was last year. I do not think that is enough to overcome all the mismatches that the Steelers have in this matchup. And if it weren't the week one factor of I don't know where the Bengals' energy or focus or synchronicity of how in sync they're going to be, if that wasn't a question, you put this game in week 4, I probably would never pick against the Bengals. But there's an element of you haven't seen Trubisky in this offense with these weapons, so will Lou be as prepared as he can be? There's an information advantage from Pittsburgh. Brian Flores is really smart. He's on that defensive staff now. Maybe he has some fresh ideas. So it's in the realm where I'm not concerned, but I'm wary of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think we all should be going into the stadium. This is a division rival. This is a team that made the playoffs last year.
Yeah. And I think out of your two scenarios, that's my tale of two halves that I am predicting. That the first half is going to be slower and the Bengals might be losing at halftime. But they're going to be there. Yeah. Oh no. It's the worst team in the division.
Steven Ruiz will be on Twitter.
It was a fluke.
Steven Ruiz will be on Twitter 2 minutes into halftime, being like, and then what happens in your second
half?
And
then the Bengals will turn it up and realize this is the worst fucking team in our division. Like, we went to the Super Bowl, we didn't win, it's whatever, that's last season. Like, now, we were trying not to get hurt, we were figuring out, now we can actually, we just figured out what works, what we can do on offense against these terrible, terrible Steelers, and they win by 25 points.
Yeah. I think that is certainly possible. We saw that a lot of times last year, and Joe does need to gain information. But this is also his fourth time playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. We do not have any numbers on Joe Burrow fourth time versus an opponent. Now, last year, I made everybody a bunch of money when I told them about, hey, this is the second time he's playing the Ravens, and they won 41-17, and he threw for 400 yards. I said, this is the second time playing them, second time playing Wink Martindale. Mm-hmm. So this Pittsburgh defense, this is now the fourth time that Joe Burrow's playing them. And that is a significant disadvantage for the defense. Significant. And this is another thing that the league doesn't understand and why Joe's a little lower on the rankings. To understand how great Joe Burrow is, it is not a highlight experience. It is not a fourth quarter experience. It is a play-by-play over the course of multiple games experience. Because he does so many little things and so many nuances of quarterbacking that matter so much in this sport. And you do not see that unless you take a step back and see the whole picture. It's like one of those, did your parents have this in their house, Matt? My parents had this weird painting that it would literally look like nothing. It just looked like a bunch of squiggly lines and colors. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't really tell what it was or whether it was even impressive until you took like 10 steps back and they taught you like, hey, you got to like open your eyes and then the lines will come together.
You got to look through the image.
Yeah, you got to look through it and then it'll all come together and you'll be like, whoa, that's cool.
It's a fucking hot air balloon or an elephant or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what Joe Burrow is as a quarterback. And that's why all these reporters, it is almost 100%, Matt, reporters that talk to him, are near him, watch him play multiple games, do film analysis of him, talk to everybody around him. They're like, oh my God, this guy's the next Brady. Reporters that have never talked to him or have only barely talked to him on the phone, who do not watch every Bengals game, are against what Joe Burrow could be. Like, I think the only one that I know watches every game, But I don't even know if he watched every game. Like the PFF guys, there's some of them that are like, well, we love Burrow, but yeah, your grading system has him at number 1. So this year, the reason that I want to get this hashtag started, I think it's fantastic, Matt, and hashtags better than I do. But I think that this season is the true beginning of the Who Day revolution in terms of the cool factor and the winning. So the seeds have been planted with the Bengals playing in front of 112 million people in the Super Bowl and all these fun new characters introduced to people. That kids are doing the gritty and snow-covered streets in Chicago back in March, right? That's vivid memory of mine. People that aren't Bengals fans, I cannot walk down the street in Chicago, and I'm sure plenty of other people that don't live in Cincinnati have the same experience without getting hoodays from random people. So that is the start of it. If they start kicking ass and winning games and breaking records, they will become the it thing in the NFL. And the NFL believes this is possible. That's why they put them on 5 primetime games. That's why the Bills Monday night football game, the NFL understands that could be the 2 crown princes and the 2 franchises who are cool now that have had a lot of shit thrown them on over the years. And that would be a really cool storyline for the NFL. For Buffalo,
love the comeback kids.
Buffalo and Cincinnati, 2 nationally branded quarterbacks and nationally branded players in Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow, who give these small market teams national brand awareness and at the same time provide hope to all the garbage franchises in our sport, like the Lions and the Browns and everything like that. That they can succeed. The Bengals making the Super Bowl was the best thing that's happened for the NFL in a decade. Because look at all the hope in every fan base. You can't talk to one fan base without there being, you put it together, we could be like the Bengals.
After 31 years, they got their quarterback and their wide receiver, and look what they did.
Yep, and that's why I think that it will turn from pity to, wow, that's cool, to hatred. It'll turn from, we can be them, to, that's not fair, we can never have that. It'll turn from, this idea of, oh, welcome to the party, guys, to please stop destroying our party. Right? So if you are a Twitter warrior out there, or you've argued with people about the Bengals, other fan bases, and you think it was bad this offseason, wait till the Who Day revolution comes this year. And they win 5, if they win like 3 of the 5 primetime games, and the other 2 they look great, they're 13-4, and Joe Burrow wins the MVP. They're going to be so annoying to every other fan base. It's going to be fantastic.
All right, so the title of this segment is not Will Pittsburgh ruin the party? It's Will Cincinnati ruin everyone else's party?
Well, essentially, yes. Will Cincinnati. Is it a Who Day? Is it a hashtag Who Day revolution? Because I think that it started with the Super Bowl and the playoff run, but if they go and fall on their face in the first 4 weeks and suck and miss the playoffs, then we're right back to where we started.
Yeah, that's the other big thing about this year. They need to prove that it's not a fluke. Everyone that is trying to say that, oh, the Bengals did something that, no one could have saw coming last year. Like, everyone predicted them to barely finish in the last of the last or third in the division, and then look at them winning playoff games and going to the Super Bowl. They need to, at minimum, is what I'm saying for this year, make it to the AFC Championship game.
I think minimum for me, that success is winning a playoff game. And I think that is the minimum of success for every year for the rest of Joe Burrow's career. Because if you win one playoff game, you're normally going to be in the Final Four. Sometimes you'll be in the AFC Championship game. And from there, you're going to play really great teams. So I am never going to sit here. If they lose a shootout to Kansas City in the divisional round this year, like, we can't all sit around.
Both games very close, and they could have lost either one of those.
We can't all sit around here and say, oh, no, like, it's a failure. I don't think that's true at all. I think that winning a playoff game is a great baseline because they have the talent that they should at least be a part of the Final Four in their conference, and that's winning a playoff game. So,
yeah, and we've seen Joe Burrow throughout his career, his demeanor after he loses a big game, which is not very often. But and there's a reason why it's not very often, is because he takes that upon himself, and what was it in high school where it's the interception or something at the end, but we haven't seen him lose in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think he's going to go quietly into the night the same way Andy Dalton kind of did, just kind of like a shrug, little, we knew we didn't have it.
No, he's not. I mean, Joe Burrow believes, this is not a report, this is not using any of the many people that are familiar with Joe Burrow. This is just from my gut of what I think he believes that he'll never say except to maybe his family and Olivia's significant other. I believe that Joe thinks he's the greatest quarterback that's ever lived. And he really genuinely believes that now that he's done it on the NFL level, that all he has to do is keep doing what he's doing, which is a lot of really hard work that's gotten him very far. And he believes, and this is what the greatest... When he hears a Tom Brady comparison, Matt, he kind of gets annoyed. Why? Because Brady's slow. I'm not slow like that. I can throw on the run. I'm better in the pocket than he is, right? And once I have all the information that Brady has at his disposal from playing in the league for 40, 50 years, whatever it's been, then I will be able to do the processing and make changes at the line at the same level he does. He hears Aaron Rodgers give a cadence. He goes, well, actually, my rookie year, I drew just as many people offside in half as many games as Aaron Rodgers did. It's like, oh, okay. So, like, there's all these things he believes he's the best in the league at. So why doesn't he think he's the best quarterback? And he thinks he could win. Like, and that's how you want him to think. Andy Dalton did not think he was even a top 5 quarterback. He might have thought himself top 10. But he wouldn't dare think, oh, I'm the best quarterback in the league. Joe doesn't even think that he's the best quarterback in the league. He thinks he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Now he knows he has to prove it. He knows he can't say it. He knows there's a lot of winning to be done if he ever wants to be seen as that. But he believes, give me the ball, it's over. Because I'm one of the greatest that's ever done it, if not the greatest. And so I think you're exactly right about the motivation factors of losing a Super Bowl and everything that all it did. They got this close, so close that they all know they could have done it. Yep. They didn't do it. And there's 2 ways to react to that. You either crumble and say, wow, we'll never get there again. Or, fellas, look, imagine if we would have worked a little harder in July. Imagine if we would have not lost to the Jets. You know, like all these things that would have happened.
Look what we did when we weren't all the way ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Now we are. Now we understand what we need to do. And
that's why my big fear for this season, Matt, frankly, is they are so dominant that our favorite week 1 scenario, them blowing out the Steelers, that it is so over the top. It is so much of a revolution that by the time we get to the playoffs, this team thinks it already has done it. Like, well, we've been there before. We beat Tennessee. We're 15-2. We're the 1 seed. Like, we're at home against Kansas City. We beat these guys before. We've already done it. Like, that's almost more of a fear for me about their Super Bowl chances than them being complacent or anything. Like, it's the fact that they might be such an explosion and such a dominant team at times.
You want them to get knocked down a little bit in the regular season, so the playoffs, they don't kind of get complacent at all.
Yeah, I mean, if they're 15-2 and a little flawed, but if they're what I tweeted out from the 3 a.m. Coney, which was a little bit in jest, but at the same time kind of true, that if they're 17-0, Jamar Chase is 2,000 yards, Joe Burrow's the MVP, the defense is top 5, they probably just won't get beat. Like, they might get beat once. I mean, that's like, if they're that dominant, then I'm not scared about the complacency. But if they're like a normal 1 seed or a normal 2 seed, 13, 14 wins, lost some key games, didn't look good at times, and then they believe that they are the it team, that this Super Bowl was made for them in the playoffs, that worries me a little bit too. But that is so far down the line, Matt. Week 1 is here.
We got week 1.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if you're going to be able to. I might do a show with Russ later this week, so do you want to drop your prediction?
My prediction.
Score prediction. You got to get the exact.
I was thinking they win by close to 20 after a slow start. So I'm going to go with 38 to 20.
20. Think Big Mitch gets 20?
Sure. That's I'm gonna say first game, they get most of that. They get 17 in the first half, and then they get a field goal in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, this might be subject to change, but really what's sticking in my head is a 24-13 win.
Okay.
Like where it was and the last touchdown is garbage, where it finally clicks and then the offense has a little bit of explosion, like 24-13, 24-17, depending on what exactly Mitchell Trubisky is. Which, by the way, it's Mitchell. We should respect that.
I'm going to call him Mitchie until he makes me not do that.
All right. Mitchie, coming into Cincy.
What you got there, Mitchie?
Yeah, but, everybody that's going to the game, just be super, super duper loud. And don't get negative. This is football. That's what I'm scared of, is that the crowd will get negative faster because so much went right for so long for this team that when things start going wrong like they were in the regular season, people will think it's regression instead of just football. And I think that's
especially even with week one, and it's the Steelers. But I think there will also be a record amount of fights at Paul Brown. Because I don't remember the last time that the Bengals played the Steelers week one, but it hasn't been after they just embarrassed them twice in a row the previous season and then just went to the Super Bowl, and then the hype going into this season. I don't know. I think Steelers fans, they do not stop talking. So they're going to go back on the how many rings do you have and, before this year. And
I would genuinely I think this will be the least amount of Steelers fans at a Bengals game in Cincinnati ever. I don't think many Bengals season ticket holders are going to
There's going to be a bunch. They are everywhere.
I know they're everywhere, but this is the one game that I think that they might not.
They just don't let them in at the gate.
I'm going to sit down on my TV on Sunday, and there's going to be half the dang full with Steelers fans.
Yeah.
I hope that it's not. I think that there's a chance that this is the least amount, because also Steelers fans are way further down on their team than the national media is. To be honest, there's not a lot of Steelers fans.
I think they're a little upset that Pickett isn't starting too.
Yeah, so he's down at third string. They don't want Mitch. I just don't think there's a lot of passion from Pittsburgh Steelers fans the way that there is from Bengals fans. And I think that it being week one, weather will be good. How many people are going to really sell their tickets? Especially to Steelers fans, now that they're a little more cognizant of that. So I'm sure there will be Steelers fans. Sure that it'll be more fans of Steelers than it would be for any other fan base that visits week one. But I think that it'll be the least amount of Steelers fans at a Bengals game in Cincinnati, which is...
But they will still set a record amount of fights. They're going to be a scrappy few.
As a person that's seen a few of those fights, I don't think that Bengals fans can walk away innocently from most of those confrontations.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. I think
I've been to Heinz Field in a Bengals jersey, and I've watched people in Steelers jersey at Paul Brown. Paycor, don't kill us.
Paycor.
I've seen both environments, and Steelers fans are way nicer in Pittsburgh. Now they might be mean that fans that come here in Cincinnati, because there are probably also people from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that'll change now because we have higher aspirations than beating the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Bengals fans just don't fight. Watch the freaking game. Watch the game.
They're still going to,
I know they're still going to. It's because there's a bunch of guys in the stands who think they're playing the game. Why can't you have testosterone flow in your system without hitting somebody? I don't understand.
You got to release it somehow. So you just get super drunk and eat a bunch of hot dogs, which I would have been mad at you if you used that backdrop of all the hot dogs last week when I was doing no meat week. But now that I can eat meat, I'm staring at that. It's making me hungry. I'm going to go get Skyline after this. But
okay, yeah, great. And then one thing I wanted to run by everybody watching. is because you reminded me of the background, is that I am between this background, no background, or this background, but I don't really like this back. I like
No, I think if we're gonna do a tiger-ish background, we can do something a little more aggressive.
Yeah, this is a little.
This looks like a
looks like we're laying on top of a carpet, right?
Yeah, like a '70s like porn star.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Hey, what's up?
Come on in.
It's 3 a.m.
It's 3 a.m. There's no rules. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, we'll stick with the hot dogs. And
Okay, that's better.
3 Conies, 3 a.m. Coney. Since we don't ever actually do the show at 3 a.m. because that would be insane. Who does that?
I mean, we should at some point. So that will be 3 a.m. Coney time, not to be confused with Central Time.
I mean, come on, you got it.
I don't know how you could get that mixed up. It's CT. It's obviously Coney time.
You got to be like, that'd be like, hey, the FBI is coming to your house. No, I meant the female body inspectors. Like,
well, that's
I'm gonna
what I
assume
thought.
the FBI. Like, you said 6 p.m. This CT, and I'm like, oh, great, he's adjusting to my time.
Coney time. No, every time I say CT now, it's Coney time.
Yeah, okay. Well, honestly, you probably shouldn't say CT because my brain will go, oh, sweet, 6:30.
We're going to fix your brain. And then every time you see CT in Chicago, you're going to be like, why are they using Coney time?
No,
I don't understand.
I'll get confused at the starting event of sporting events. I'll think everything's Eastern time. Be like, oh, what's going on? It's all Coney time.
Coney time.
I want to thank everybody for watching and listening, and we should have some stuff with Russ later this week. And it's finally week 1. We finally have actual real things to talk about.
Week 1, baby.
Not just Ravens fans peeing down their leg out of anger, you know.
And then Browns fans doing whatever they do.
I don't know. Teaching their children the wrong things, most likely. I'm just saying, there's a lot of examples of it out in Cleveland, guys. It's like, you know, I know we drafted Joe Mixon, but our fans didn't stand with a sign and says, go keep hitting women, Joe. Like, that's not something people did here. I'm just saying. That was a little aggressive there, Cleveland. So, all right, we'll see you guys next time.
Until next time.